It's somewhere in London and it's looking pretty red. Lee Judges is attempting to score some new content. He's got to get past a hacker, malware, and password attacks. Lee takes off. But look, the hacker sends password attacks towards Lee. He's dispossessed of all his passwords and data. He goes again. But he's hacked to the ground. Look at Lee's in pain and they're mocking him. Wait, he's got a last-minute transfer deal. He's got NordVPN on his team now. I mean, is that even legal? Oh, that's next-generation encryption absolutely blinding the opposition. And the fastest VPN on the planet flies past password attacks, takes down the ball and scores! That's fresh content on your favourite streaming services. You're protected on multiple devices, back of the net. Just change your location in the app. Go to nordvpn.com/AFTV now.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Fourever Arsenal podcast powered by NordVPN. The code is AFTV. There's a link in the checkout, nordvpn.com/AFTV for the AFTV special. So if you need a VPN, show Nord some love, people. As you can see, they're powering the Fourever Arsenal podcast. And as always, I'm back with the regulars, Jordan, Lee, and James in the building. And I do wish it was a more positive one, but Manchester City 4, Arsenal 1 at the Etihad on Wednesday night. In my opinion, makes it over. I thought it was over after the Southampton result. I think it's officially over after this Manchester City one. And I know mathematically there's still a chance, and I've already had people tell me City can drop points in 2 games and leave the door open for us. But yeah, we'll talk and we'll see if anyone here has the same thoughts. Jordan, Lee, James, you know what? I won't even ask you how you are. We'll just forget the long intros and just get straight into it. Lee, you was at the game. I've done that Manchester trip many a time. For 4 hours there, 4 hours back, and the drive back's always a difficult one because we tend not to get the points, and that was the case on Wednesday night. How you feeling, Lee, man? Talk to me about how you're feeling first and how it was over there.
Do you know what? I feel worse as the week's gone on. I feel more let down by it. And I don't mean that horribly. I'm going to be really honest. I'm finding it very, very difficult to criticise the team and the players because of what they've done over this past 8 months. They've been fantastic. But on the Wednesday, yes, Manchester City were fantastic. Yes, they were brilliant and all that. And they stopped us playing. I'll give them that. We was outclassed on and off the field. That's how I feel. They done a number on us. Pep done a number on Arteta, and what I've took from it is exactly what you said, Turkish. We didn't lose the league on Wednesday night. Lost it at probably the Emirates against Southampton. And that's what I think's annoyed me a little bit more, guys, is that Southampton lost to Bournemouth at home the following. Or was it that night or the following night? If you're going for a title against Manchester City, you have got to be nigh on perfect. And when you got home games against Southampton, 2-0 up against West Ham, look, I'm going to be really honest. 2-0 up, you can draw the game. Tottenham and Man United happened yesterday. It happens. It's a funny scoreline. So I can forgive it against Liverpool. I can't forgive it against West Ham, if I'll be honest. Liverpool went there in the week and won. Good teams go to West Ham and win. That's how it is. We failed there. And I just think what's really annoying me or getting me down a little bit is that we've played so well for so long. But when it's really mattered, these last couple of games, we've been really, really poor. And I have to say, listen, we've all said it as well. Mikel's got to come in for some criticism in this now because we've all sort of said, no, we can't go up there with this holding. We can't go up there with this defensive thing. He went there with that same defensive thing and got smashed. No change, no nothing. After 5-10 minutes, they were running all over us. I looked at the bench. Nothing changed the whole game. And that was my biggest disappointment. Yes, the players didn't turn up as well. I have to say that. I thought we was poor. And bullied by two world-class players. I have to say that. De Bruyne and Haaland were unbelievable on the night. But I've not seen De Bruyne have as much space since the Emirates 3 years ago. Or, do you remember when they come in and won 3-0 and everything? He just had, it was like a training ground to him. He's a good player, guys, and we're just letting him have the free run of the game and done nothing about it. So why I'm very, very reluctant to criticise and go in on the team, because I've got to say this, I am proud of what we've done. We've been fantastic this season. I'm watching other teams yesterday, and I do think that our improvement is unbelievable. But I'm disappointed with the way it's going to finish. And if we finish like Chelsea, for instance, have lost 5 games on the spin, haven't scored. If they come to the Emirates and score against us and we don't win that game, I'll be so disappointed. So disappointed in a lot of things, because that tells me we're not ready. You know, we should go in on Tuesday night now and smash Chelsea. But you know what? We won't, guys. We won't. And that's the big fear for me. Like, you know, changes have got to be made. It's got to make changes now. You know, I'm not going to criticise Holding too much, because I'm not being horrible to him. That sort of game, that magnitude of game, the quality of that game, it's too much for him. It's a top of the table clash. He's not. You can argue he's a Premier League player, but he's not at the top end of the Premier League. And as for Gabriel, you know, he's getting away with it as far as I'm concerned, because once you lose and I say like lose your best central defender, he's 21 years of age, but we've lost him, and he has just crumbled around him. Awful, absolutely awful. Realistic, you're expecting him to say, right, okay, I'll take you through this game, Rob. I'll get you through it. Nothing.
That is so difficult to do, Lee. When you look at the way Arteta asked Arsenal to play, man marking all over the pitch against probably the most dynamic, dangerous, clinical, experienced, world-class front two in world football. I know what you mean, right? De Bruyne, Gabriel, in a lot of these moments, you take the Theo Walcott goal against Southampton, could have done better. You take the De Bruyne goal, could have done better. But I can't help but feel that the damage is done before it's got to what he can do to prevent that goal. I know he's the last side defence, and I know we love him, but look at the way Haaland just rolls Holding. It's like a 2-on-1. And look at the way Alcaraz gets the ball in acres of space to pick out the perfect pass into Theo Walcott, who's made that run for 15 years of his career. I just feel like as much as I'm really let down by the players in this game, really let down, I was sat here saying the one thing the Southampton game showed me was that they're going to be brave and they're going to fight for this team. And I actually didn't really see any of that. Like, I think they went into their shell. I was left so disappointed by the players. But I think Arteta, he had a shocker in this game. The more I've thought about it, and I am really repeating myself, so apologies to anyone else watch my player ratings, tactical insight, the show I did with Turkish. I do apologise, but just the more it goes on, the more I think Arteta had an absolute disaster class in this game. And it was the complete opposite for Pep. I was in awe of what Pep did in that game. Yeah. And I think that's cost us more than anything, really.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, you know, you're right. I'm just saying, like, you know, with Gabriel, it wasn't just that. The game against West Ham as well, when he dives in for a penalty. I think he's been great this season, but he's been great alongside Saliba. It's a good partnership. But the one thing that, you know, I will, with Arteta, I'm a big fan of Arteta now. He's won me over. I'm going to say that now. And I don't think I've heard ridiculous people saying, go, like, you know, get rid of him and all that, like ridiculous sort of stuff. But I'll tell you, like, there's a reluctance to bring in Tierney. I don't know why, you know what I mean? Go back to games, Liverpool at home, Tomiyasu comes in at left back. You know, he can be adventurous. He can make bold decisions and make a decision like by putting a right back over to a left back, and it worked. Why can't he put a left back to a right back or something different? You know, put Shinchenko in there. And listen, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but this is all things we was all talking about before. He just let it happen. And what was more disappointing about Arteta than anything is that he never done anything about it. Like, they never. Yeah. After 7 minutes, you know, before they scored, you could see it wasn't working. Okay, as soon as it goes a goal down, we never getting a foot in at the game. Do something different. Try something different. And he didn't. And, you know, Pep did. You know, and that, you know, he's ruthless in certain things. You know, why did Martinelli come off? Right? Because he was not in the game, not doing anything. And he kept that same back four that was getting destroyed. If I look back on it, it was not an embarrassing defeat. It was a telling defeat. It was a team telling you that we're going to win the title. You ain't got no chance of winning the title. We're going to run all over you. We're going to do all this to you, bully you, and everything like that. And I was disappointed. I was disappointed with you know, the end as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like trying to fight their players and all that. Do that on the pitch. Show that sort of fight and determination on the pitch. And another thing you have to say, like, you know, Xhaka wasn't fit. Why play him then? You know what I mean? And the reason is because we feel that we've got to play a half-fit Xhaka in the biggest game of the season. The reason being, squad's not strong enough.
And I don't think it's been trusted enough, because there's another thing I looked at and I just thought, because against Southampton we saw Vieira start the game.
Yeah.
Where
was he in?
But against Man City, when we made a change in that midfield, Emil Smith-Rowe comes into it. So Vieira starts one game where he hasn't really had much game time this season, and in the game after, he's not the one that's looked at the bench to come on to do something. It's Emil Smith-Rowe who's had less minutes than Vieira this season. So it did feel like he was scrambling a bit to make it work, I guess. But Lee, I'm with you. I mean, I can excuse going in with the same lineup because it's done us so well throughout the season, albeit, you know, without Saliba and with Rob Holding in there, but not to change it up. I talked about it with James on the live yesterday, not to change it up, not to have that plan B ready, the contingency plan ready. It just reminded me of those Wenger years when there was a certain level of arrogance and confidence that this is Arsenal, we're going to play this way, and we're going to play this way, whether it's Bolton at the Emirates or whether it's Barcelona at the Nou Camp. It just felt like we didn't prepare for Manchester City's strengths. And funnily enough, like James said, Manchester City prepared for our strengths. And we are the ones that are trying to break that, you know, break the curve in Manchester City's domination.
Turkish, I wouldn't mind if we play, if we kept the same team and we played like we have done all season. We didn't. How many times did we go long ball with Ramsdale in goal today? He kicked it virtually every time. We changed. You know what I mean? They took us out of our comfort zone. That we wasn't prepared and brave enough to play our football, so we did change. We went, and you have to give Pep credit for that, like, you know. But so go with it, change with it, go to a back three, do something different, try and match it up or whatever, like, you know. When you say we played our game, we didn't. We never went through the lines once. We never kept the ball and played our game. They took us into places where, in the end, our left back was kicking it out or our right back was kicking it out. And they're all we was going long. Credit to them for doing that. I'm going to have to say that, you know. Why I said earlier on, I'm reluctant to criticise us too much, but you have to give them they're fantastic. But if you're going long and you're going to go down a different route, change the team up, change the formation. Didn't change the team, didn't change the formation, but change the tactics by going long and like not being horrible. Like, you know, Jesus never won one header. Why go long?
Right.
The reason they went long was because we was forced to.
I think that I agree with pretty much everything Lee has said so far, apart from that last point. I think it's a little bit unfair to say that he didn't change it up. Look, we were struggling to get it out, to pass it out, to play our game, which is what we've done all season. We were struggling to get it. We couldn't get over the halfway line at certain points. So if we'd have continued to have done that and they'd have scored more goals, everybody will be saying, why doesn't he change it? Why didn't he try to go long? For me,
I'm talking about the formation, the players, not on about.
Okay.
I'm quite happy that he went long. I agree with that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, we went long. We started going long with players that are going to play tricky-tacky football.
Oh, okay, I see.
When we're going long, change the
bring on Nketiah early or something. Okay, fair enough. And the Fabio Vieira point, I think, is a little bit harsh as well, because we all unanimously agreed that he had a stinker. So the fact that he didn't play him again in this game, we can't now say, well, why didn't you play Fabio Vieira in this game, but he did in the last game? Because he probably agrees with us that he had a stinker.
No, you're right, Jordan. I don't mean. We all agree that Vieira had a stinker, but what I mean is you've got to this point of the season, and when it's time to, unfortunately, injuries and maybe fatigue and illnesses and whatnot are catching up with us. In one game, you're bringing in Vieira, who hasn't had much time this season, and straight away in the next game, you're bringing on Smith Rowe, who hasn't had much time this season. So there was a lack of pre-planning coming up to this crucial period. That's what it seemed like to me, because if you trust Vieira, even though he had a stinker against Southampton, you talk to him and you make sure he doesn't when he comes on against City. With Smith,
why was Jorginho bought in January? Arteta said, "Oh, I'm really glad I've been after him for a couple of years." Massive game with that game there. Xhaka not fit. Why is he not playing?
He's trusted him very little, hasn't he? Actually,
yeah. Why?
And I'll go as far as say Jorginho's. If I had to give an average rating of his performances for Arsenal, I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, he's been decent. He's been decent. I understand maybe why he didn't play him in this game, because I think the physicality in the middle of the pitch is what he wanted from Xhaka. Oh, he who shan't be named. But the reason why he didn't pick him against Southampton, that one confused me more, because that's a game where you can control the game. You're at home against the bottom of the league. That's the game where I think you should really be picking Jorginho and starting him in that match for me. On the game itself, like you guys, I'm disappointed at how it ended. I was looking for two things. I said in the last pod, intellect and bravery. I don't think we didn't get either. I thought we played scared. The word that I used was we played scared. And when I really thought about it kind of last night some more, because I'm really disappointed about how the game finished. The word scared, there was no belief. So I kind of compare it to people who are scared of spiders. They're scared of spiders because they have a belief that the spider could harm them. We all know the spider ain't going to harm you, but they have a belief the spider could harm them. People who are scared to...
Damn, that was a really good analogy.
It was a really good point as well, that was.
I was enjoying that.
Yeah, I was enjoying that about the spiders.
The one time Jordan makes a good point and StreamYard goes, nah. Oh, he's back now.
Sorry, my internet went there. Sorry, guys.
We were enjoying that, Jordan.
We were enjoying that about the spider.
You're telling us you're scared of spiders.
Carry on.
I didn't think I was scared of spiders. I was making the comparison with people who were scared of flying.
It's okay. It's a safe space. Please.
They have a belief that they are not going to make it to their destination. Me, I can't swim. I'm scared of the water because I have a belief that I'm going to drown. Right. Okay. No, but I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere with this, Lee. And for me...
Let's hire a boat.
The next Fourever Arsenal.
I'm trying to make a serious point here, Lee. The point I'm eventually getting to is that they played scared because there was no belief they could ever win that match. They played that game as if they never ever believed they were going to win that football game. I've watched Liverpool in the last 2 or 3 years go to the Etihad, 2, 3, 4 years go to the Etihad. And when I've watched them play, they believe they can beat Manchester City. They may win, lose or draw, but they compete and they believe. Klopp has got them. And this maybe is the evolution of Arteta as a manager. He didn't, I don't think at any point they talk about when they walk out and they're coming out the tunnel, there was never a look that this team looked like they believed they could win that football match. And look, Man City are better than Arsenal in every department across the pitch, every department. But for me, what you can lack in talent, you can make up for in belief. And they played scared. Saka, he played scared. He who shan't be named, okay, I don't think he was fit. He didn't really get on the ball. Partey had a stinker. I was going to really batter Partey, but I don't think it's fair to batter Partey because I think they were all poor. So I think it would be a little bit unfair to single him out, but I don't think he was good. In the group, I was doing my nut. And when I talk about intellect, Arsenal after 41 minutes should have been 4-0 down. We had a touch at being 1-0 down, an absolute touch. I'm screaming. I was watching the game, some people. I was screaming, just get to half time. Just get to half time 1-0. You've had a touch. Stupid, unnecessary foul. If you could ask De Bruyne, put the ball anywhere on the pitch to cross it into the box, he would have picked that spot. he would have picked that spot. And what happens? They score 2-0, game over. So that's when I talk about intellect, just being smart and intelligent about how you manage the game. That for me was disappointing as well. But having said all that, I was at an event yesterday at Arsenal actually, and I was speaking to one of the coaches there, and he said to me, he gave me some analysis that was maybe less emotional, because I think as fans we're emotional, and I think we all agree there was a lack of belief. But he was saying to what Lee touched on as well at the start of his first point. He said that he doesn't think it was about them being scared. He said that Manchester City had prepared so well for Arsenal, they just didn't allow Arsenal to do anything. They just didn't allow Arsenal to do anything. So we can look at it and say Arsenal was scared to get on the ball, but we could flip it with a bit of with lack of emotion and say Manchester City are just that good. They just suffocate you. They just make you. They almost make you scared. They make you not want the ball because they're just on you. There's no space. There's just no space to do anything. So I kind of thought about that some more and thought maybe it's a balance of the two. I do think the boys didn't let themselves down, that they didn't step up. But I think there's also an element, if we're kind of being a little bit less emotional, that says there's levels. There's levels here. And one of the biggest compliments I used to play Pep Guardiola's Barcelona team was that people used to compliment them on the ball. But it was off the ball that I thought they were really amazing. Off the ball, the shape was amazing. They pressed you really, really well. They won the ball back really, really well. And when you put Haaland and De Bruyne at the top of your pitch, you're going to cause problems. So I think it's a combination of us being fearful and never believing, combined with we played a team that actually just, in a way, it's a compliment. As you said, Turkish, they prepared for us. You could see they are prepared for us, and they executed their plan to a T.
That's where the flexibility has to come in. When you mentioned that they were suffocating us and we couldn't, get on the ball, that's when Mikel Arteta has to change something. And the shape, like Lee was saying, try something different. Why not put Tierney on, put Zinni right back, or why not go to a back three? Try something different. And we didn't do that. And, the game was the same from the first whistle to the final whistle.
But sorry, Lee, just quickly, do you guys accept though that possibly, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, that possibly again City are that good when you're in the game, even as a player and a manager, your head's frazzled, and you're thinking, I've got to change something, but you're just being overawed by this machine that don't give you a second to think.
The players or the manager, sorry?
Both.
So the players, I can forgive them because even though I thought they were shocking on an individual basis, I understand that they're fighting with maybe what their instincts are telling them to do in terms of retreating, protecting their goal, whatever, but also what the manager's asking them to do. Let me call it what it is. Rob Holding is fundamentally not good enough. He might be a lovely guy, behind the scenes is brilliant. And I think for certain games, he can come in and be a very adequate backup. But we've reached a level and we play a certain way, and he is miles from it. The better this Arsenal team gets, the further he becomes from the required level. And that showed in the game. Yeah. He couldn't man mark. At one point, he swapped Gabriel and Holding just so that they could mark each other's men, and it had no effect. He's not good enough. But I feel for him in this situation because I don't think he has as bad a game if Arteta tells the team to take 10 steps back, 2 banks of 4, defend the crosses, defend smaller spaces. Don't let there be pockets in between the midfield and the centre backs. And everything the fans were saying would happen if we pressed, everything the fans were saying would happen if we went high line with Rob Holding. Kevin De Bruyne in an interview quite literally goes, yeah, fans, you're all spot on. Yeah. Basically, I sat in the pocket because Partey and Xhaka went too high up the pitch. And we're all sat there going, So I'm looking at Arteta thinking, you could have helped your players out more. And I understand there's a principle that he wants to stick by. And I think while the players were caught in the headlights and they were frazzled by what Man City were doing, I think it was as much what City were doing as it was them just like, I'm trying to still do what the coach is telling me. Arteta need to recognise within 10 minutes, 1-0 down, just drop back and let's hope we nick a goal. Oh, and guess what? We did nick a goal, but we were 3-0 down.
To fair, I had a brilliant conversation with 2 Man City fans, like father and son. and they come up with a fantastic point. Turned around and said moments and defining moments. He said, when you come here in January, you played us off the park in the first half with 6 players not in the. We played our full team, and you played a 6. Changed it around. And he said, for 45 minutes, no other team has ever done that to us in the Pep era. The reason, he says, you come to the Emirates in January in a good moment. You was playing really, really well, confidence really, really high. You come to the Emirates this time round with confidence not so good. The damaging results before, I think, had an effect, and the injuries as well. When we went there, even in February, he said, we played you in February, we beat you 3-1. It was an even game. It was mistakes that mattered. There was a confidence. I think, well, this is what he said. He said the results against West Ham and Southampton had meant that you'd lost a little bit of confidence going into this game. And he actually said a great point. He said, if you'd have gone 1-0 up, I don't think you'd have been confident that you'd have gone on and won the game. I think you knew that Man City would come back. If we'd have gone 1-0 in January, he thinks that we'd have gone on and won that game 2-3-1. That's coming from a Manchester City fan. It's a great point that he made. And he did remind me also, he said Rob Holding done really good in that first half of that game, right? Why? Because we was a different team mentally. We really went for it and everything like that. And the other point that I'm going to make in here is that Arteta give Pep his number in the FA Cup semi-final. Went with a tactic, and we ended up going. Why didn't he go back, revert to that? Just say, right, we haven't got the players that Manchester City have, so we're going to tactically do. We went with a back 3. We held on, went 1-0 down. We nicked it 2-1. Played really, really well defensively. And we had players like Mustafi playing that day. Played really, really well. Put a system in there where these players could have just been a little bit more comfortable. And I don't think it's. Arsene Wenger got criticised for this a lot, and that's why I always admired Alex Ferguson. It's not a weakness if you change your team around for a team. Alex Ferguson at Man United done it every single time. He put an extra midfield player in against Arsenal twice a season. Never done it any other time. No one turned around and said, "Oh, you're scared of Arsenal" or whatever. It was a tactic that was done, and it worked. And there's no shame by going away from your principles against the team. There's no shame in it. I don't know what it is. Doesn't mean to say that you're better than us and whatever, especially when you've got your best central defender missing. I can tell you that now. Don't tell me anybody that goes around that. Saliba is our best defender now. It's been proven over the last few games. But don't change your principles every now and then. It's not the end of the world. We didn't do that once in the whole game.
Yeah, not even tweak it. And when we mentioned that on the live as well, we can talk about formation, and we would have liked to see maybe a change there, whether it be at the start of the game or during the game. We can talk about personnel, whether it be at the start of the game or during the game. But there was tweaks that were necessary because Rob Holding was getting dragged left, right, and centre. Gabriel was left exposed because of it. Like James mentioned with the De Bruyne quote, picking up the spaces because Xhaka and Partey were too high up the pitch. These things could have been translated, from manager to players during the game. Sit back, Partey, Xhaka. There's too much space. Holding, don't get sucked in. Hold that line with Gabriel, and let's soak it up a little bit. But we didn't. They move after move. They just kept on opening us up, and I think Jordan said it could have been a worse scoreline than what it turned out.
Do you know what's a difficult thing for me to watch that game? About Holding, right? Is that we've all played football, right? That Haaland, right, knew he had him on toast.
Yeah,
he knew he had his number, and he was ruthless with it. There was a moment in the game when the ball went down to the right back channel. Holding went chasing after it. 9 times out of 10, if that would have been Saliba or Ben White or something like that, Haaland would have just let him have it, play it into the goalkeeper. He chased him down and Holding it into the stands. It just, it told you everything you wanted to know, that he just had him. He knew he had him, and he weren't going to let him off the hook. He wasn't going to let him off the hook. I felt for Holding in this game.
At half-time, Rob Holding had the most touches and most passes of any Arsenal player. Thomas Partey, who plays in a very similar area because obviously he drifts to the right to get the ball, had the 3rd lowest. So it tells you that they weren't happy for us to have it in a particular area of the pitch.
Yeah, but
they were very happy
Varane
for a particular player to have it.
Yeah, you get it. You know what I mean?
Tells
Like,
you everything.
and do you know what? Wouldn't it have been great? Wouldn't it have been great if? And you're gonna, we're all gonna get praise Pep for doing it, because wouldn't it have been great if he prepared all of that work, like, and when it comes to the game, he weren't playing? Wouldn't it have been great, like, maybe they look round at each other and go, "Well, he's not playing, Pep. What are we going to do now? Like, well, we'll revert back to what we normally do." But he works on that for 3 or 4 days, and credit to him. You know what I mean? But wouldn't it have been great, like, if you come back in the team sheet and say, "Oh, he's not playing, Pep."
This is the point. Sorry, I know I keep ranting. I do apologise for people who've heard me make this point. I'll try and make it in a slightly different way, right? So you mentioned Rob Holding doing really well for the first 45 minutes of the FA Cup game against Haaland. And I actually agree. Yeah, he got the yellow card and Haaland, listen, he had his moments. But I think part of why that worked so well was it was a surprise from Arteta. He went with a weakened 11. He rotated 6 players out, and he man-marked all over the pitch to the point where Gabriel was marking Mahrez all the way on the right wing. And I think it shook Pep. Not shook Pep. I think Pep was like, what? We're losing our individual battles, and they're coming out on top here. Now, in that game, Rico Lewis, I think it was coming into midfield. It was their 3-2, their base 3 with 2 in midfield and the 5 up front. And we matched them all over the pitch, and it was brilliant. It actually suited our in possession formation really well. And it was a surprise. We ended up losing that game. We all came away from it going, you know what, Arsenal and Arteta, you made a really good account of yourselves. So in this game, when the 11 comes out, I'm thinking, oh, he's tweaked it. He's brought in Walker to deal with Martinelli. That kind of makes sense. But, you got their back 3, our front 3 will press onto them. No, Stones, who's been a revelation in midfield, dropped in to make it a back 4. And then Gundogan dropped back, and it was Rodri and Gundogan who were the base 2 building. He basically went 4-4-2. And it just completely threw us off. So what you were just saying, you were hoping we would have done to them, which has made them go, hold on, Pep, this isn't what we thought they were going to be on the pitch. What's going on here? I could see that in our players. I could see them not having a clue when to press. I could see them not having a clue who to pick up. Xhaka and Partey were so high up the pitch because they thought, well, I guess our battles are with Rodri and Gundogan. But does that make sense that our 6s are engaging with their 6s? Maybe one goes on to them. But in the last 10, 15 years I've watched football, when there's a number 10 on the pitch, aka De Bruyne, your holding midfielder does the job to stop them. But it was asked of Holding and Gabriel to do that job because we were just so confused with where to go. And that's why we just looked at complete shambles. So, yeah, it was I think it's in a way admirable. I do want to say this. I think it's in a way admirable of Arteta to show really stern belief in his players. This is how we play, and I believe in you. And I think we will reap the rewards of that in the next 2-3 years. But this was a one-off game, and the Mourinho's of this world, he won a title with Matic and Fabregas at the base. But you know what he did sometimes? He dropped Oscar, he moved Fabregas in the 10, he brought in Ramirez for big away games. Sometimes his front 3 was Pedro, but he'd take him out. No, it wasn't Pedro, someone else. But he'd bring Willian in. There would be little change for certain games. This is how we're going to do it. And Arteta does need to develop that as he gets a bigger squad this season.
I'd love us to get to the point where we can, in a few minutes, talk about players that we think we need to bring in to tool up to be able to go to the next level. But just my kind of final point of the game would be that the Southampton game happened as well, but there's only been, I can only remember one game this season, the Everton defeat. And it was one other game I think we won. But one of the best things about Arsenal this season for me has not only been our starts. I think pretty much every game this season we've started really well. But the other thing I've loved as well is our shape. We've had really good shape that's been quite hard to break down in the main across the season. And the Southampton game and the Man City game, the first 2 games in a while where James has kind of articulated it really well. I just think our heads were gone and we just didn't know what to do, where to be. And I think that the gaps that I was seeing in the middle of the pitch, I've never seen us so open through the middle. And look, maybe he who shan't be named, maybe he being ill has an element to do with that. Maybe. I thought Partey had an absolute stinker as well. But I just couldn't believe in what was the biggest game of the season with a team with the best midfield in the league. We were so open in the middle. And I just can't believe that was a tactic. I can't believe that you allow the best player in the league for me and the best striker probably in the world to just have that much freedom, and it was quite clear very early on that they were going for the middle. I was with Rob yesterday at this event, and he made the point that normally Man City they play wide. They get Mahrez and Silva to sit on the touchlines. They did the opposite in this one. They were very, very narrow. They went right through the middle, and it was quite clear to me. I don't know. That was quite clear early on. It's like they're going through the middle, but we just vacated the middle where they were at their most dangerous. So I just the shape of us just being totally lost for me was very disappointing. Maybe it's forgivable against City to a degree. It wasn't against Southampton. It was upsetting to me, disappointing that in the game we've built ourselves. This has been the game we've been waiting for all season, and it's like we offered that. That for me was a disappointing thing. Sorry,
that's the whole thing. Going up there, I expected us to put on a show. You know what I mean?
Put on a show, Lee. You know,
yeah, I expected us to. You know, I thought we might win it. But if we was to lose it, it was going to be going down fighting, all guns blazing, 3-2, you know, like really go at it. We never done it. And I'll give Pep his credit, as James just said there, you know what I mean? Like, I will say this about them. He criticised, I never criticised, but he put a little thing out there for Walker, didn't he? Like, I don't know if he's good enough.
Yeah.
He was sensational. I have to say his defending was sensational. Like, you know, he never let anybody go down that right-hand side once. He was aggressive with his defending. Very, very good. And also, another thing is, if Martinelli scored an hat-trick against Southampton in that game and then was left out against Man City, we'd have all gone mad. You know what I mean? What's going on? He can do that, and no one blinks an eyelid at it. You know, Mahrez destroyed. I know it's the FA Cup, but wins the game, destroys it. No one blinks an eyelid and just says, "Yeah, great stuff from Pep." Like, you know, and I think that one point I'm going to big him up on here when Julian made a point on his fan cam when he turned around and said, "Look, they're all at their peak. Every single Man City player is at their peak of their powers. We're not. We're getting there, like, you know what I mean." So that is why I'm reluctant to criticise too much and all that, like, you know, because we're a process that's happening, like, you know, they're at their peak. Now, what will happen is that when De Bruyne comes out of his peak, they'll get by somebody else to their peak. They won't be able to develop it like us. But I tell you what I see, what I've seen is, you know, and that's right. You know, the biggest thing for me now is we learn from this. Arteta learns from this, and the players learn from it.
Can I just say?
I get Julian's point, but you know, that's just kind of trying to gloss over it and make us, you know, make ourselves feel better. At the end of the day, like you said, Lee, when one of their players gets past their peak, they're going to replace that player with a player that's either coming into their peak or at their peak anyway. So there's no teams waiting around for us to hit our peak and resting on their laurels. I mean, is Haaland at his peak? No. Is Kyle Walker at his peak? No. And they're in different stages of their career. I could say the same for a couple more players at Manchester City. Obviously, De Bruyne, even De Bruyne at 32, is he at his peak? Have we seen a better version of De Bruyne before? You could make an argument. Manchester City, I think James mentioned 17-18 season where he was it 17-18, James, where you said that's the Manchester City team that you probably think is the best of them all, the best version of them all. So we can make ourselves feel better and say, yeah, they wasn't at their peak. But what I want to do is also talk about a few of our players, because I know Jordan mentioned he doesn't want to talk about Partey too much, and that's one player I will talk about, as well as Xhaka, as well as Holding, as well as Jesus, as well as Zinchenko, because I look at these 5 players and they've all been deemed leaders at some point this season. They've all been deemed the more experienced ones, the ones that need to guide us through when times get tough. I'm not necessarily looking at the young players this time. Yes, the young players were missing. Saka, you know, looked scared. Martinelli didn't even get on the ball. You can say the same about a few more young players, but the experienced players not once stood up to be counted, not once made a slight adjustment to their game. I mean, I'm going to start with Partey because I've rewatched the game 2 times now. Once the full game and second an extended highlights package. For the first goal, Partey just allows De Bruyne to run past him into the space for Haaland to pick it up and pass it into him. That leaves De Bruyne one-on-one with Gabriel, where Gabriel's then been done by De Bruyne, who's not known to be the best dribbler in the world, but one drop of the shoulder, One move towards the right side creates that space, and what a finish. The second one, Jordan, you mentioned it, just before half time. You don't need to concede that free kick, Partey, but you concede the free kick. 2-0, the start of the second half. Odegaard gives the ball away. But again, if you watch Partey running back, I don't even know whether I could call it running. He was jogging, and the only excuse I could have for that is he must be injured. He must be carrying something, because I'll urge everyone to go back and watch that third goal and tell me Partey is busting a gut there to get back. No one can tell me he was. It's either he's injured, he picked up something along the way, or he wasn't up for the fight.
His performances since coming back from international duty have been poor. And do you remember he was injured in that game and he got left out? I've always said about this with Partey. Before he went on that international break, he was sensational. 100% fit, Partey's unbelievable. But I think if he's 95% fit or less, he's not the player that he is.
You're bang on, Lee. You're bang on. You're right. You've just encapsulated it really well there. When he's 100% fit, he's one of the best players in his position in the world. But you're right. If he's even 95% fit, you don't get the same player. I don't want to go into that debate now, but there was the whole debate 3-4 months ago about Arsenal fans saying he's better than Casemiro and Rodri. He's not. And I said at the time he's not. He's a brilliant player, but his brilliant games for me are not consistent enough for me to be in that elite end. I'm a little bit uncomfortable about bashing him because I think I've said before, I think for a month he's been poor now. He's been really poor in my opinion. But I do think over the course of the season he has been brilliant. And I think you said at the start of the show, Lee, that singling out players, we're evaluating this game, right, Turkish? So we're talking about this game. So I think it's fair on this game to call out players. But these are the same players that for the majority of the season have got us here and have done really, really well. But we have to be balanced. And I think Turkish is right. He was poor. Zinchenko's meant to be the guy. I don't know if he got emotional because he was going back to his old team, but he was dog. He was absolute dog, I thought.
Jesus. He won the last couple of games.
Yeah. When we discuss Partey and Rodri, Casemiro and whatnot, sorry, the lighting just gone off. I'll fix that in a sec. There is no debate, because if you look at Rodri and Casemiro, the way I judge players is not based off of a season. If you're asking me who's the better player, I'm going to base it off at least 3 years, if not 3 to 5, and there's no debate there.
I put Fabinho in there as well. I love Fabinho. He's had a stinker this year. He's had an absolute stinker this year, Fabinho. But I think he's better than Partey. But that's just my opinion anyway.
But when we discuss this season, I do think Partey's had a better season than Casemiro. Obviously, Casemiro's been missing for quite a bit of it because first the integration at the start of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
Secondly, a couple of red cards, meaning he's missed 7 games in total. But that doesn't matter now. We're not discussing who's better and whatnot. And I do want to move it on from Partey as well, because I've said my bit about Partey. And now Rob Holding. Listen, Rob Holding is Rob Holding. We know what he's about. We know his limitations. We know that teams are going to target him. But it's come to time now. It's come time now. 2 years on the trot. Ben White injury at the end of last season. Rob Holding comes in, not good enough. We failed to make top 4. Is it on Rob Holding solely? No, it's not on Rob Holding solely. It's definitely not on him alone. Similar story this season. Saliba gets injured. Rob Holding comes in, gets exposed, not good enough, gets targeted. We have to be ruthless this summer, and Rob Holding needs to be sold this summer. I don't care. I don't care about him being happy to be on the bench. I really don't give a shit about that. I don't give a shit if he's happy to be on the bench, because at the end of the day, when called upon, I'm not happy seeing him in the lineup, and that's been the same for years now. And again, I have to reiterate this because a lot of Arsenal fans like to turn around and say, "Stop scapegoat." I'm not scapegoating. I started with Partey for a reason, because I'm most pissed off with him, and I'm moving on to Holding because I'm tired of seeing Holding at Arsenal being targeted, being exposed, and it's not his fault because that's his limitations. I think James said it last time. He's a penalty box defender. Against Man City, he's been asked to go up to the halfway line and press, leaving Gabriel further exposed as well. So with Rob Holding, I'm done with that one there. I think it's time to move on, get a right-footed centre-back that can, compete and be Saliba's understudy. James.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that, okay. Mohamed El Neni. I think if you ask Arsenal fans how they felt about El Neni and Holding, I actually think what you get from both is pretty similar. I don't think you'd get... I think you get a sort of decent servant, can come in and do a job, I personally rate El Neni quite a bit more than I rate Rob Holding, but I think that would be the general response of the fan base. But if you ask me going into the run-in, would you rather have Saliba starting and El Neni in for Partey, or would you rather have Partey starting and Holding in for Saliba? I'm going for El Neni Saliba every single day of the week. And the only reason is because Mohamed El Neni is far closer profile-wise to Partey than Rob Holding is to Saliba. I'm not saying quality or anything like that. I'm saying as a player who can try and replicate what they do, in that they've got the legs to get around the midfield and cover the spaces, in that they keep things quite neat and quite simple. Rob Holding is so different to Saliba in the way he wants to defend that it has such a massive impact. What you just said about Partey, 100% fit, he's unbelievable, but 95% he's way off it. I think that's true of this Arsenal team. I think when we're at it, we're brilliant. But I think you lose a component. Also, we actually did really well with Eddie Nketiah leading the line. But then when Trossard returned, we saw how much more fluid we were. I think, and Trossard is much more similar profile-wise to Jesus. I think the task this summer for Arteta isn't just to have quality, which we need, but it's for the understudies and the players coming in to be of the right profile. Yes, the quality's got to be there, but to be of the right profile whereby they're coming in and the game plan doesn't change. Yes, we need a plan B to a degree, but we need the players that are coming in to just keep things moving, because next season isn't about going, all right, our first 11's there and when one's injured, brilliant. Declan, do you fancy stepping up for Partey, or whoever's our cover at centre-back? Do you fancy coming in for Saliba? It's got to be, you know what, we're playing 18th place at home. I can ring the changes and it's going to be the same. When we did it against Bournemouth at home and he brought in Vieira and Tomiyasu, Vieira's nothing like Xhaka. Asked to operate in similar areas of the pitch and might do it in a very different way, but he's nothing like him. We touched on that in the last podcast. Tomiyasu doesn't overlap and do what Ben White does on that side. And you saw the whole thing really drop a level. So the task is getting players that, yes, have quality, but they replicate what the players ahead of them are doing. Then you can alternate far more easily for me.
I think that's a good point.
I will say about Rob Holding. I've got to say this about Rob Holding.
Oh, come on. We're killing Rob Holding here, Lee.
No, I'm not killing him here. Tomiyasu's been a big loss, because Tomiyasu would have either come in at centre half or right back in front of him. The reason that he's there is because Saliba and Tomiyasu are injured as well. It's not like, he's third choice. This is a player that would play League Cup games and Europa League games this season, and I think that's also something which James picking up there. Don't forget, we wasn't planning on being in a Premier League race. You know what I mean? This time it was like, get to top four. Holding could come in and play against the teams in the middle. We wasn't expecting a game like the Man City game, and where it was too much.
That is true.
And
I don't know if it's true.
I do believe that if you put Ben White in there as a centre, I think he'd have got bullied by Haaland. I really do. He got bullied by Tony last season. He's not that. That's why he's out there at right back at the moment. I think Tomiyasu would have come in and done a better job than Rob Holding in his last few games, and that is the sad thing that we got. So when people go, "Oh, Rob Holding," and I get what Turkish is saying, he's realistically he's not a backup to Partey like El Neni is a backup to Partey. He's third choice. He wouldn't be if Tomiyasu was fit, he wouldn't be playing, guys.
But I disagree with that, because there's no evidence to suggest he is third choice. There's all the evidence to suggest he's second choice, because any time we make a change at centre back, it's Rob Holding that comes in. We've seen Tomiyasu left back. We've seen Tomiyasu start right back. We haven't seen Ben White start centre back at all. Anytime there's a change in the middle, whether it's a centre back.
Saliba's been fit all season, Turkish.
Who?
Saliba's been fit all season, really.
Yeah, but then let's say the FA Cup tie. All right, Tomiyasu started at right back, but Holding was a centre back. So if our second choice right back is Tomiyasu, then surely you can that game time in that FA Cup tie.
I see what you're saying there, but I believe that if Tomiyasu was fit, right, Rob Holding wouldn't have played Wednesday.
What we didn't get a serious crunch tie to test that with Arteta, because you mentioned the FA Cup tie. But even then, I think many would argue that he wanted to give Ben White the rest anyway. So I actually get what you're saying, Turkish. All the evidence is there, but I'd love to have seen what he'd have done if that Saliba injury happened before the Tomiyasu one happened in the same game. Typical. But yeah, that would have been really interesting. I don't know what he'd have done.
I think we all agree, though, that Holding this summer has been moved on. And I think, James, you were just saying there's reports coming out about us being linked with 3 central midfielders. The next year we'll be in the Champions League. This time next year, I want to be deep in the Premier League title race and in the latter parts of the Champions League race. For that to happen, and FA Cup, well, all of them, to be honest, all of them.
I want us throwing away anything next season.
Same, but for that to happen, we have to level up. And that for me means some significant incomings coming in. And I think James nailed it in terms of the profile. It's not just about bringing in really good players. It's about bringing in the right type of profile player that fits what's currently mirroring what would mirror the current first 11. It's also about outgoings. So for me, Holding's got to go. I would try and find a backup, a better backup goalkeeper than Turner. I would sell the likes of Lokonga. I would sell Emile Smith-Rowe. I would sell Nketiah. I would sell.
You sell Smith-Rowe?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. He's not going to play for us. I said this at the start of the season. He will not. I don't think he'll be here anyway. But I would sell him. If we're going to be a top club, guys, we can't be emotional and just be kicking Smith-Rowe because he's a HLM boy. He's not going to make the grades.
Because we've seen he can be a very good player.
Is he going to start this 11?
Don't know.
I think he could take Trossard's place.
In the 11?
No,
he's not better than Trossard.
Get into the 11,
he's not better than Trossard. So he's not even. I'm
not so sure about that.
He's not even first choice off the bench. I think we can get 30 mil for him if we're going to level up next season and have a squad that can compete. We've got to be Turkish said it ruthless. I like Emile Smith-Rowe. Let's be real. He's not going to cut it. It's got to be a big
deal, though. It's got to be big, more well over the odds.
I'd take 30. I'll take 30. But my overall point is, I think if we're going to be ruthless and try and win the Champions League next season, we can't have in our squad people like Lokonga, like Holding, like, my opinion, Smith-Rowe, like Nketiah. We have to level up on all of these players. Just my view.
But I'll give you the Lokonga and Nketiah one, yeah? Even Nketiah, some people think that's really harsh because he stepped in, but I think you could see when Trossard came in the difference, and Nketiah's done well when called upon this year. But with Smith-Rowe, like we haven't seen anything of him this year because he's been injured. And when we did see him last year, was he our top goal scorer from midfield or whatever?
That was last year, James. When the Champions League next year.
Yeah, but football changes all the time. Like, especially in the era of Peps and Artetas, like we are, and Ten Hag's, we're always seeing this year that the new system is a back three with a box midfield and Stones is playing there. And next year will be something else. And by the end of this season, everyone thought number 10s were dead. And that's why I thought, where does Smith-Rowe get in this team? Because everyone's playing 4-3-3. And now we're ending the season, Brighton play with the number 10, Man United play with the number 10, Man City with De Bruyne play with the number 10. Like, football will evolve. Smith-Rowe came into the 11 as a 10 because we had no one who had any creativity. But once we signed Odegaard, he moved to the left and Tierney was overlapping, and that was our best way of attacking. Like, every year, I think we will change something about the way we set up going forward. And I think there's every chance that next year, Tierney and Smith-Rowe have a bigger part to play, even though this year it looks like he hasn't wanted to use them at all.
Tierney, I agree with, and I would actually give him more money to keep him. I'd extend his contract and give him more money because I think he's a great second choice left-back option. I would go all out to try and keep Tierney as a squad player. But I just think Smith-Rowe is not better than Saka or Martinelli. And then even the guys on the bench, I think he's competing with. I don't think he's the obvious choice. It's not like, he's not in the 11, but he's definitely the first choice off the bench. We have to be ruthless. We're emotional about Smith-Rowe because he's one of our boys. He's good. A very good player. Is he good enough to be in our squad next year to win the Champions League?
It was last season. Last season
to win a Champions League.
He got capped by England last season for his performance.
Okay, was Xherdan Shaqiri good enough? Was Xherdan Shaqiri good enough to be in a Champions League winning squad?
Yes. In a squad, yes. In a squad,
I think Smith-Rowe can get to Shaqiri's level.
Okay. All right. Maybe.
Shaqiri was a very good player, though.
He was a bad boy.
He was a very good player. And I think Smith-Rowe can become a very good player.
I think he can.
Xherdan Shaqiri was good, but like Come on, like no Liverpool
What
player was
about
sitting there
Vieira
going,
then?
"Oh, what a conundrum!" You know, Shaqiri's not getting into this team. Shaqiri was a good player, I agree, but we're acting like Smith Rowe didn't get 10 league goals last season or more. We're acting like he can't play in
hang on
three
the target.
positions.
But that was a season, James, where we wasn't going for the Premier League or the Champions League. The level is rising now. The expectation goes up. So when that goes up, it's one thing getting 10 goals for a team that's trying to stay up or get top 10 or get top 4.
I can see both arguments on that.
But he also wasn't 27 last year. He was 21 or whatever, 22. Like I do. Okay, look, I get it. And when I look at the starting 11 for Arsenal, I don't know where Smith Rowe naturally fits in. I fully agree with that. But I don't know. A lot of people called Grealish a flop last year. 100 million. Guardiola's not really trusting him. They need a goal on the final day to beat Villa. He doesn't even bring him on. This year, he's been one of their best players. Yeah. You know, things change very quickly. If we see talent in a player, I think we need to give it a little more time.
The other reason why I think I would move him on is because we need to, for me, level up our first 11. And if we can bring in 30, 35 mil for Smith Rowe, that could go towards your Declan Rice, or that can go towards someone that in the first 11 can level us up. Do you know what I mean?
That's the point. That is the point. If it's going to fund, for instance, I would say like it's going to be a bit hard, but you have to look at it like one of them, Vieira or Smith Rowe. If you get good money for him, can fund. If it means that we can get Casida and Declan Rice as a midfield, I'm going to go with that.
I hear it. Yeah, I get it.
I'm going to go with that. I see what Jordan's saying. It depends because we need to get strengthen that midfield up, and if we haven't got the funds for it, if you've got Trossard, if you've got Vieira,
Nelson as well. Nelson's brilliant.
That's the conundrum.
I'd sell him anyway, but yeah.
Look how. So hands up if you keep Reece Nelson now.
I'd give Nelson a contract.
Okay, we would all have not put our hands up a year ago. I promise you, we wouldn't have.
True.
He has been fantastic. I'll tell you what, with him, he come out. He was a positive that come out of that game because he was one that I felt. Do you know what? I believe in my ability. I believe I've got pace. Believe I can.
Lee, I disagree. I tell you, I disagree. Go on.
No, but the game's finished, so like
that's why I disagree.
Yeah. I get that. You can come on, but what I liked about it doesn't matter. The game's finished from that point of view. I'm coming on here and showing you that I can do it. There's a mentality as a player, like I think he's improved on his stature. He's a lot stronger, bigger. He's quick. He has got something in the team that we haven't got in other areas. Like, I look at Smith Rowe, Vieira, Trossard, they're all very, very similar. It gives us a little different dimension because he's a little bit more direct than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the names Jordan mentioned, I'm with him on every one. If there's one that I've got a soft spot for, it would be Smith Rowe. So I understand the arguments against the potential sale, but at the same time, I also agree with Jordan. We're heading into Champions League. We want to challenge for the title again. We want to be able to challenge at least and get to the latter stages of the Champions League in our first year back. And having been linked to Mount and Kudus, and I think a need for a striker, there's potentially 2-3 attacking players coming into the side this summer. So the room's going to have to be made with Vieira, because Lee did just ask about him. I'd be sending him out on loan because he's reaching Lukonga territory for me, where I don't like judging players until about a year and a half into, players coming in from abroad until about a year and a half at the club. But with Lukonga, I saw from early that I haven't seen much. I don't really know what he brings. I don't know what his best position is. I don't know how he's going to fit in. I'm seeing the same things with Vieira as well. And this is coming from someone who's praised him when he's deserved praise too. It's just that against Southampton, he was literally hiding. He was missing. And then when you're not called upon for this Manchester City game where we needed a goal, we needed something changed up, and you are a 40 million, I believe it was, or 35, 40 million pound player, I think that speaks volumes. So a loan for him, ideally Premier League, to get him more accustomed to this league would be perfect for me. I haven't given up on him yet, but in the Champions League, we're going to need a bigger squad and a better squad to be able to cope with these things. And Jesus and Zinchenko are two more players I want to mention, because we've praised them so much for the leadership they've brought in, helping raise the bar, the standards, and I agree with all of that. And I've been a part of that praise, and that praise doesn't evaporate now. But what Wednesday night showed me is they also need some guidance. They also need some experienced players, because they are very emotional leaders. We need some experienced players. Like I mentioned it to you in the live, James, in De Bruyne, where he's a mature, composed. We don't really have that. Even Xhaka, for example, getting Grealish in a headlock, and yes, we've praised Xhaka. He's on his turnaround, and rightly so. The lack, the lack of silly moments leading to red cards, rightly so. But that was the first time this season we've really seen a rattled Xhaka, where, he could have done something silly. I don't put that Liverpool one on him and look at that something silly. I think he was just in the moment there. But this one, I just felt like you're one of the leaders I look to, Xhaka. You're one of the people that needs to guide Jesus and Zinchenko through these emotional moments. Partey too, Rob Holding too. That's why I put all five of them together, and I say, in terms of our leaders, more experienced players on that pitch, none of them stood up. So we do need to, that word again, be ruthless this summer.
Well, can I link what the point you just made there, Turkish, with the last convo we just had, and put a name out there to the viewers and listeners that I think, well, my friends have laughed at me, and I think you guys poo-pooed it as well. I think there's a player that I would try and get in the summer who is experienced. He's a winner. He's of an age profile I think we should be going for. He can play across the front three. I think he's affordable, and he's never, ever, ever injured. I would make my top target this summer Sadio Mane. I would go all out to try and get Mane. I know that him and Bayern have had a fallout, and I think they've said they want to try and move him on in the summer. I think if you gave Bayern Munich their money back, even 40 mil, I think you might be able to get him out of Bayern Munich. You're bringing in a senior, older player that has experience, has won trophies. As I mentioned, he's never injured. He can play left, right, or centre. And I think that's a bit of an X-factor signing that not only would work within an Arteta system, but I think would level us up for the Champions League. I would make him my top target. I don't think it would cost that much. I don't think Mane would cost that much. I know that Liverpool sold him or Bayern got him. I know that Bayern Munich got him because he was the last year of his contract, but I just think he would be the kind of signing that would take us to the next level. And to your point there, bring us that bit of experience, that bit of nous. He's still rapid as hell. He's someone that I think ticks all the boxes for what I would need in this current front three setup. But just putting that out there.
I like Mane, but I don't agree that we should get him.
I think he's too similar to what we've got. If we was to get him, I wouldn't. I think we need to go someone completely different profile to what we've got.
Yeah, because
I don't think Arteta will. I don't think he's not going to get a big man up top. I'll be surprised.
Oh no, there have been links to that. There have. He's
go
been
on.
Over the years, we've been regularly linked. Obviously, there was a Vlahovic stuff, but I know Tex doesn't really believe a lot of that, and I hear it. The Calvert-Lewin links, and there was a report a couple months ago. I think it was just after the January window that Arsenal have been scouting like physical, strong, tall number 9s, and there was an extensive list. I really hope they go for that, and I haven't really been fighting for that signing where everyone else has for the last probably 3 windows. But Tammy Abraham was another one we were strongly linked with. I think deep down, Arteta does think that, and it's probably part of the reason why I wanted Jesus, because he can play out wide and he can use him in lots of different areas. I think you only got to look at that Haaland performance to kind of think, yeah, there is just in any team, there is room for a player that lets you go a bit more direct and lets you beat the press. And I would love an Ivan Toney, someone like that, just brute force, but also very.
But he's technical. More than that. Yeah, he's exactly. More than just a big very man. Toney is for me the modern day forward. Yeah.
He does everything because he can link up play as well. Obviously, in a different way to Jesus, but he links up play quite well. If you look at the way Mbomo plays off him, and a couple other players there. Toney would be perfect if he didn't have those allegations on his name and a potential ban coming up. That's the only reason I wouldn't go for him. But I like that I'm hearing links to another type of striker now as well, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a target man. It could be a bagsman too, and then like an Osimhen. it could be someone like that, you know, you give him a sniff, he's banging it, he's putting it in the back of the net, because Jesus also doesn't do that. I don't think he's much of a goal threat. As good as Jesus is, I believe he's the best pure footballer in the side. In front of goal, I don't think he scares opposition. And right now, Martinelli's our scariest threat in the front three, and he's still very young, he's still growing, and credit to him for getting 15, because it's been an incredible season for him. But it'd be good to have a striker to trust in and around the box, that you give him a yard, he can bury it. So it's good to be linked to strikers. I mentioned Jesus, Zinchenko, I've mentioned Partey, I've mentioned Holding, you know, we've talked about Xhaka too, and I'll leave it at that, because those are the 5 players that, in my opinion, I wanted to mention off the back of that game. It is just one game, but it was the game of the season, and as much good work as we did leading up to that game, being in the position we're in, that is, you know, this period is essentially the period that has cost us now, Jordan.
Just briefly, what I was going to say as well is that, look, the title, just kind of wrapping up the kind of title talk, I think we all agree that Man City will more than likely win the Premier League title now, and it is over. But I did tweet straight after the match, and I got battered for it as well. And well, you just hold your lick sometimes, isn't it? I tweeted after the game that, yeah, of course, I think you'd be an idiot to suggest that City won't win the title now, but they're still second. They are still second. So, look, I know everyone's laughing right now thinking, you idiot, Jordan, shut your mouth. But people were talking as if City won the game and extended their lead at the top. So, no. They're still second. And I'm just thinking, let's at least, if there's anything... Sorry?
They'll be first tomorrow.
Probably will. They probably will. But let them go first before we give them the crown. Is kind of point I'm making, and let's at least let them go first. Whenever it is.
Do you know what would be more annoying than me than anything else now is if Arsenal throw these next 5 games away. The title's done, right? Yeah, but at the end of it, I don't want City 10 points clear at the end of this. That will really, you know, because we've been better than that. 3 or 4 points, I'll accept. You know what I mean? Like, but. If we lose against Chelsea and then we lose to Newcastle and then all of a sudden we're looking like Manchester United are going to take that is where we're at now. You know what I mean? Finish this season off strong, get as close to the Manchester City as possible. I don't think Manchester City are going to lose a game. I'll say that now. I think they'll win every single game. You know what I mean? Like, if they play like that, every single game or near on like that, they will not lose another game. They've not. I think they've won how many games? They've beaten Bayern Munich 4-1. They've beaten. They're winning every game 3 or 4-0 at this moment in time. And I think they've won 10, 11 games on the spin. They're not dropping points. Right, we get that. But for us now, forget about them. It's concentrate on ourselves. Let's finish the season off strong. Do not finish it off on a wimp like we did last season. Going, you know, the worst thing that can happen to this Arsenal team now is they come third. That will be a disaster.
We need 2 wins to secure. We need 2 wins to secure finishing above Newcastle, and it'll be about. It's pretty similar because Man United have Villa at home next, Brighton away. So 2 more wins from our last 5.
We'll get second. We'll get second, but I think Lee's points.
I don't want to limp over the line in second.
Yeah.
No, but I'll go on further.
And then all of a sudden, you look at the league table at the end of the season. Man City win it on 90 points, Arsenal on 80. It doesn't look like there's been a title challenge.
I'll go one further. And this is sitting somewhere in between what Jordan's just said and what Lee's saying, which is be ready in case there's a slip up. I know they're going to win every game. But what happens if they go to Fulham on the weekend?
Don't piss off Turkey.
I'm not trying to instill hope. Because I think it's done. I'm the guy who said we'd lose that game at the Etihad 3-0, okay? So trust me. But if they draw, some freak something happens, okay? We got to be ready. We just have to be. There's just no excuse. You know, they won their first league title, Man City, in God knows how many years, in 2012, having been 8 points behind Man United. And United drew 4-4 at home to Everton and conceded 2 late goals.
Yeah,
no one here would have thought that would happen.
Man City 1-0.
Man City beat them in the run-in to close it to 5. But I think
they lost at the Emirates, didn't they? Everybody said that was it. It was over, wasn't it?
So they needed a few slip-ups in the run-in, United, and City got them. Credit City did their job too. We didn't do that. But But this is what I mean. I think City actually did the double on them that year, so that tells you everything as well. But like, this is my point is just win your games. No need to cement second and for pride and all that, but just to be ready in case. Because their last two games, when we play Forest away, they then have Brighton away and Brentford away in that last 4 or 5 days of the season. So if they've slipped up at Everton or Fulham before, and we've done our job, I promise you all we have hope going into that week. Every single one of us will be sitting there going, oh, but what if?
Fulham and Brighton, Fulham and Everton, they won't win both those games. They won't win both those games.
Here you go. So you're setting it.
There's a draw. There's a draw. One of those two games they draw.
You see Everton yesterday?
Turkish is laughing because he doesn't believe, and I agree. I don't believe it anyway.
No, you know what you meant. You know what you meant. Then you got me fucking dreaming again. You got me thinking.
I don't Turkish. Don't go down that route.
If City draw one game and win the rest, leading up to the final game of the season, and we win all the games leading up to the final game of the season, I believe that'll put us 2 points behind Brentford's score in the 32nd minute. They're 1-0. Nah, let me not do this.
My point is, look, I know we can all laugh. I know we can all laugh and get all like, oh, hope. Listen, we still got to go to Newcastle, and we got Brighton at home. So yeah. I actually don't think we're winning all of.
Well, listen, we're not beating Newcastle. I'm going up to Newcastle. I'm actually like, we ain't beating Newcastle with that defence. We are not beating Newcastle.
My point is,
back.
One slip up in one of those games that Jordan's mentioned, and we have to be ready. That is all I ask this team to be ready, because the pressure will be on them if we have won our games and we beat Forest away, very doable, and they go into a crunch final week away at Brighton and away at Brentford, probably two of the toughest away games anyone has faced this season. Really,
I wouldn't fancy us then.
Oh, no, not at all. I wouldn't be predicting us to win those games.
Hang on. You lot are chatting about Brentford and Brighton and Newcastle and all that. To segue for Turkish here now. Do we even beat Chelsea?
No.
This is my point. Win our games and be ready. Win our games and be ready. Mudryk is going to go to the Etihad and win us the title. Come on, Michaela. Every masterclass. He knew what he was doing.
Frank's going to get his first win at City.
We'll use that as a segue, Jordan, because we're well over an hour in now. I hope people have hit the like button already. It's not the most positive of pods. They have tended to be positive throughout the season. But here we are seemingly throwing it away towards the end. But as James has just alluded to, there's still hope. So, yeah, if you believe so, you believe so. If you think it's over, then it is what it is. You're on my kind of wave, but we'll keep it moving. Chelsea, I think at the beginning, Lee, you said you want to see some changes. So what changes would you want to see against Chelsea before we get into predictions?
Change. I want to see a change up from the back four. I want to see a change from there. I want to see. I listen. It's a little bit different at home, so I feel for Rob Holding, but I want to see a back four or back three going into that game, which gives me hope for going against Newcastle. So I want to see a clean sheet. Don't see many of them, but I want to see a clean sheet. I want to see the only clean sheets I see is when I come on on this show and I see James's bed. That's the only time I get to see a clean sheet.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, no problems. Thanks for that. So I'd like to see a little change there. I've said it a couple of times, and people laughed at me. I feel that Jesus now has gone into that thing where the adrenaline's gone from the couple of games. Now he's finding physically a little bit tough. Maybe like a little change up top as well. And that's really it for me. But what I want to see against Chelsea is a clean sheet and a comfortable win, giving me confidence going to Newcastle. As I say, that's all that concerns me is we win our next 5 games. Like, let's see if we can do that. And I watched Newcastle the other day against Everton. That's how to play Everton away from, and that was another poor game, by the way. Everton away. I said that back in the day that could come back and haunt us. Every good team's gone there and smashed them. So Newcastle's going to be a real tough game, and they will score goals against us if we don't sort out our back four, and that may mean just shoring up, protecting the midfield as well. You know, I always look back at our great teams, Adams and Keown at the back, and Bold and all that. They was protected by Vieira and Petit. You know, Vieira and Gilberto. You know what I mean? There was protection even with our very, very good, you know, Sol Campbell at the back there. James makes a great point. We exposed our central defenders on Wednesday, and they're weak anyway. You know what I mean? They're not as class as they should be. So protect the back four, and just a slight change, Mikel. Come on, let's see what you can do. Let's see what you're made of in these next 4 or 5 games as well.
Yeah, let me bring up the prediction table now as well.
What was your prediction on
3-1?
3-1.
Yeah,
You know, when Ireland scored, I jumped up, and Julian, when were you jumping up? Boy, there's
sure
bigger fish to fry. I said, there's bigger fish to fry.
The bigger fish to fry. The Forever Arsenal fish. There we have it. So me and James got a point because we both predicted a Man City win. For the people listening on Spotify, Apple
It's
Podcasts,
close now. It's close. 5 points.
the platforms you use. There's been 43 games and 43 predictions made. I am top on 37 points. Jordan is second on 35 points. Lee is in third on 33 points. And James is fourth on 32 points, just 1 point behind.
You might not be getting that wooden spoon this year. You might not be getting the wooden spoon.
I can see you are shitting yourself, Lee.
I am worried. I mean, it was 3-0 at one stage, and I thought I was bottom of the league. I was when Holding scored, I went yes, and then I realised, oh no, Turkish! Oh, well done, Hurland, well done.
So
It would have been worse for me and Jordan on that. It was 3-0, and then went 3-1. We was doomed. We was doomed.
Fretting.
you know, are lucky you docked me points, otherwise it'd be over right now. It'd be 4 points clear, but here we are, 2 points.
Oh, we lost your points, did we? Oh, we lost your points. Yeah. Do you want to change that? Like, you know what I mean, there's the one phoning us up and making messages saying we're sorry. I'm sorry. Now it's our fault.
Yeah, because you're acting like head teachers, for fuck's sake. Just let it slide. But here we are.
I see Sharoy ain't here. He's on holiday.
Yeah, we should have got him on.
You paid him. You know what I mean? As it happens, like, you know, we're gonna get Sharoy in. Like, yeah, look there. Have a week away, Sharoy. Go on there. Take your lovely girlfriend away for a weekend. Go on, son. Like, you know what I mean? Then forget about those points in a couple of weeks.
Since we're on the subject, since Sharoy has been brought up, I'm going to do my comment of the day right now before predictions. Mine was from Nakia Grant. Turkish, you should appeal the points deduction like Juventus. I've already filed my papers. Sharoy he's taking a break. He's going to get back to me. If there's any way I can get my points back on. We'll find that soon. All right, predictions. Chelsea.
Hang on that point, Turkish. Is this going to be like a Man City situation whereby in a couple of seasons' time we're going to realise that you were paying Sharoy, and then we're going to get retrospective? I'll get a retrospective title.
We'll get our shirt back. we rip his shirt off at a match day. Like that. You ain't having it.
It's hard being the best, man. It's hard being the best. People just want to tell you.
James just want his money back.
Well, especially because it costs me more finishing bottom.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it costs you an extra tenner, doesn't it? Oh, I've got to start. I've got to forget about it. I've got to start getting good.
I got faith, James. You're gonna make it back, man. 1 point away from Lee.
Yeah, you know what? If you actually ask me, what's the perfect result for me at the start of the season? It's finishing first. If you ask me what's the second best result, it's finishing third with Lee fourth. That is absolutely the next best thing.
That would be a right disappointment from winning it last year to come bottom. That's poor. That'd be poor.
I'll skip your title if you do come last, because I don't know.
That's pretty poor.
Don't worry, you've got about 4 early ones for you to get in. Like, you'll get in up last.
But someone listen. If I was a head teacher, I'd say, listen, who was late today?
Yeah, fair.
Well, I'm
You-
not being horrible.
You should be docked 1 point and be level with James if I'm if
Yeah,
I'm
well, I'll tell you what, I'll go to Sharoy straight away on this. Like, I mean, like, 27 minutes past, I've had to put in the link. I'll ask for a link, you know what I mean? Like, by the time I sorted out the link and got through and all that, I need 5-10 minutes to do that, I'll tell you. Like, I don't know all this pay stuff, I have to type. You know what I mean? So, and I even had to ask for the link at 27 minutes past 8. We're supposed to be going at 8:30.
Look, for lying as well, I should dock you 2 points because 27 past the. I'm gonna get it up right now. 8:20. You said, is there a link?
All right, 7 minutes. Like, when did the actual link come through?
8:23. So you had 7 minutes to type
I
it
had
out.
7 minutes. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Lee's like,
yeah, it's about right. So, like,
he's using a fucking typewriter to put it in, and he's talking about links.
on the point of Sharoy though, can someone send me Sharoy's number? Because I need his number in my phone book just in case.
We can't all have the judge's number, man.
he's got him
Get your own lawyer.
Speed dial. He's got him on speed dial, and he's got
your own lawyer.
for his dates as well. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, can we go out tonight?
Better call Sword, Jordan. Better call Sword. Find your own, mate.
There's a show in that. Better Call Sharoy.
I'll tell you, when I see Sharoy next time, I'm just going to blank him. I really am going to blank him. Like, I think he's a really nice guy, but as a lawyer, he's useless. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest.
Well, no, for some people, he's useful for some people.
You're actively damaging his public reputation. You do realise that, Lee?
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like, should step up, shouldn't he? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've got, you know. He might not want to talk to me after this, so there you go.
I've
like,
left a 5-star review on Google already. If anyone needs a lawyer out there, people, Sharoy is your man. Let me know and I'll pass you the contact details. Apart from Jordan and Lee, James, if you need him.
Wow.
Apparently, he was Ray Parler's lawyer. I don't know if that's true or not. Like, you know, of course.
Let's move on. Let's do this.
Prediction time. Chelsea, Emirates, Tuesday night. This is such a difficult one to predict because I just want to predict it. You know what? 3-1 Arsenal. I'm going to go 3-1. We bounce back. We get goals. Chelsea are abysmal. Do I even give them a goal? Wait, 1 sec. Do I give them a goal? Fucking hell, they did. Do I give them a goal?
You think Mikhailo Mudryk isn't bouncing one off his arse into the back of the net to put them 1-0 up, then you're severely mistaken.
I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal. 2-0 Arsenal.
I agree with Lee. I would start Nketiah up top on this one. I would make change up top. I would also bring.
I'm going 3-1. 3-1.
Oh,
sorry.
Whoa.
3-1. Well, you decided to start talking instead of predicting, so you give me the chance.
I would also do change at the back. So I would put Ben White at centre back, and I would go with Tierney or Zinchenko. Well, those being the two fullbacks. I would make changes. I'm not convinced. I went emotional the last 2 ones, Southampton and City. I'm going to go back to my normal pragmatic. I'm going to go for a dirty 2-1. Dirty 2-1. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable game at all. I think Lampard would love to beat us. Lampard would love to get his first win against Arsenal at the Emirates. So, 2-1 Arsenal.
Lee seems upset.
I'm going to go 2-0 just to change it up now, but I you know what I mean, like 2-1 was my
I was going to go for 2-0.
My one as well, like, you know what I mean. So I'm going to go for 2-0, just because like I need to gain something.
I was going to go 2-0.
You want to get above me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to get above me.
I'll go 3-0 Arsenal.
Ooh, wow. You guys are confident.
I would, not really. I don't know. I don't know
what you're going to get rid of this one.
I don't know if there's any score I'm confident in, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But I'd go. I'd bring Kivior in. Just see why not? Why not? They literally haven't played a striker all season. I bring in Kiwior for this. And then controversially, I'd drop Saka or rest, shall I say.
So would I.
Played a lot of football all season, kicked all the time. And I actually don't think, while I thought he looked quite bright against Southampton, actually, I don't think he's been very good for a month or so. And that's fine because he's been unbelievable and he still scores goals and I love him. But I'd bring Trossard in and move Jesus to the right. And if Nelson got a start, I wouldn't be overly against that either. So, yeah, 3-0. I need a response, Arsenal. Come on.
So to round off the predictions, I've gone 3-1. Jordan's gone 2-1. He's gone 2-0. And James 3-0. So yeah, all different predictions. We'll see what happens come this week. And it's time for comments of the day before we.
You all know Chelsea are winning 1-0, right?
And whilst
we all know that's going to happen.
Whilst we're waiting
You've just
for
been saying, well, we've got to keep in it and all that, like, you know what I mean? You give the old rallying speech, you know, got Turkish interested, and then you go and come out, oh, you know, Chelsea's going to win 1-0.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you now. I will be fuming if we can see the goal. Fuming. There you go.
7-1 win. 7-1 win. Lee's fucking.
I will be going mad.
While the comments of the day are getting
guys, I've got
hit the like button, and Jordan, you go ahead because I've done my comment of the day already.
all right, I'll be quick because I got to shoot. There was a good one here from Jessan. No, sorry, it was from Andy Cole here. Maybe the Andy Cole. I was.
Brilliant.
Sorry, someone's calling me. I was crying. Sorry. Someone keeps calling me. I was crying with laughter at the first 10 minutes of the pod. Every week, you guys make me laugh. Keep up the amazing work. Best podcast out there. And then the other one I've got here is what a classic start from Lee. Turkish, you went on the tactical show last week. Surely you got some sleep there. I like that line. It's harsh but true.
Harsh but true. Who's up next?
I've got to go for this one, like, you know. I'm not even going to mention his name, or I'll go for it. Habib Malik. Enjoy Lee on this podcast for as long as you can. With all that acting he's doing and the working for the proper TV soon. Love the work, lads. Keep it up. I'm believing because keep believing because I do, which is obviously before the Man City game, like, you know. But if you're still believing, good luck to you.
Well, Lee's new career as an actor, yeah?
Yeah, I can see it happening, like, you know what I mean? So
we'll see about that. James.
All right, mine is from Goat Teta, and I love it because I see this kind of comment every single show. It just says video starts 11:30. He's put a time code in there. And I just love the idea that there's some people on the podcast going, yeah, fuck all this. I know you're having fun, but can we just get to the actual football talk?
Get to the action.
10 minutes out there, just not interested in. No thanks. No, don't care about your lives. Don't care about your prediction table or whatever's going on behind the scenes. Just chat football. And then some people get in the comments going, nah, the first 10 is brilliant. So to those who do enjoy the start, thank you. To those who are just here for the football chat, we don't, whatever it is that you get out of this podcast, we appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the banter. The chemistry is a big part of why this show does so well and why we all enjoy doing it. It has me up at 7, 8 a.m. on a lot of days, and I don't think I do that for many.
Some front, They've got some front.
I wouldn't do that for many podcasts, Lee. I'll tell you that.
You don't do it for this one. What are you on about? Like,
at least I try to do it for this one. At least I fucking.
At least you try, yeah.
He sets the alarm, mate. Have some respect, Lee.
Well, yeah, he sets the alarm, yeah.
He called you to apologise. What more do you want?
Well, exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. My bad is what he says. My bad. I love
call
it.
Jordan.
You know, if Turkish has done something wrong, it's my bad. You know what I
mean?
Yeah.
My utmost apologies, Lee. Next time, that's what I'll say if there is a next time.
I know you're not sincere. If you say my bad, I'll know that you're sincere, like, you know.
Yeah, my bad. That's real. That's from the heart.
Yeah, I know that's real. I do know that's real.
We're going to wrap it up here, people. Literally coming up to an hour and a half. I think it was necessary considering the circumstance. It does feel like it's over, but as James said, there might be a glimmer of hope. Let's see what happens over the next coming games. We'll be here after and before every single fixture. Big up James, big up Lee, and big up Jordan as always, and big up NordVPN. Use the code AFTV at the checkout or click the link in the description below, nordvpn.com/AFTV for the AFTV special. And there's a 30-day money back guarantee, people. So make sure you show them some love. We're out now, and we're back after the Chelsea game. Peace, people. Love.
I'm trying to access this video and it's doing my nutting, Robbie.
Basically, you want me to go like...
And I won't be tagged anywhere, and I can save money when... sake. So how do I know when he's finished moaning? Stop. All right, okay. Should we do... Oh.
Absolutely brilliant.